Good morning. Yes. Good morning. My name is Randy Trinello. I am one of the assistant principals at PS 86. We're located in the Bronx. Before we partnered with CUNY, our school was very messy in the department of working with our emerging bilinguals, especially in our bilingual education classes. We have very large emergent bilingual population. We are a pre-K through 6 school with just a little bit over 1,700 students. And about 85% of our students are Spanish speaking and emergent bilinguals else. For a very long time, our bilingual teachers, as well as the bilingual students in the transitional bilingual program, were actually left to their own. You know, they weren't really affecting our reputation. We've been a school for 5 consecutive years, so they weren't really, affecting us until last year we became a city school because our emerging bilingual students were not making the progress that the state expected them to make, and that's how we partnered with the CUNY project. And since then, we have been able to make some breakthrough changes at PS 86, both structurally and in pedagogy as well. We went from not meeting with bilingual teachers to monthly meetings with all of our bilingual teachers. We have a huge bilingual program, transitional bilingual program. We have 2 bilingual classrooms in just about every grade, K through 6. Really large group. Since Liza and Christina started to meet with us, as an administrative group, we started to meet with just to talk about our bilingual population and how we can change things and how we can make things better for the students and the teachers. And then from there we moved to create our emergent bilingual team, where every single bilingual teacher is a part of. And we went from starting with monthly meetings with the entire bilingual staff to every other week breaking them in grade bands, lower grade, upper grade, because it's a lot of teachers. So that alone was a huge change, so that they had their own time to talk about their own needs, as opposed to just being in a common prep meeting with their grade band, and most of the focus was for the mainstream classes and what was happening in the gen ed population. So just giving them that time to sit together and vent, which plays a huge role, and just kind of get together and think about what can we do, and giving them the opportunity to be invested in the changes that were going to take place was really, really huge for us. Some of these structural changes that we made, we put in place our teams. The administration itself started to meet just to discuss the bilingual population. The teachers themselves started to meet, and this is now ongoing. It has been programmed into our schedule. It takes place, the teachers meet, we meet as an administrative team, we meet together with them. So that alone has been a huge change. Then we've made huge changes in our pedagogical structures. We have 10 minutes left. Pedagogical structures, and I'm going to give it up to my coach, who is the brains behind it. Kind of. So she's going to talk about what are those big changes we made in our program.
Sure. So when we talk about, as we were reflecting in the very beginning about the issues in our bilingual program, one of them was the clarity and the purpose and the uniformity with which our teachers are teaching. So one of the things we really wanted to do was give them the opportunity, like Rennie said, to meet as a team and really explore the strategies that they're using. There was a lot of inconsistency between grades and what teachers were teaching, what strategies they were using, even how much time they were allotting to the different languages in their classrooms. So we transitioned our curriculum to a 50-50 model where teachers, in literacy, where teachers would be teaching for 1 week reading in Spanish and writing in English, and then switching over to reading in English and writing in Spanish the following week to sort of give a little bit more of a concrete structure to our literacy block, and to really almost force that transfer. Some of our bilingual teachers were a lot more comfortable teaching in Spanish, so that's what was being taught. Some of our bilingual teachers were a lot more comfortable teaching in English, so that's what was being taught. So we really like this structure a lot more because it forces that push in both languages equally. The need for the inquiry groups came out of this bigger question of, well, if you've got a class full of mixed groupings, how do you really address the needs of all the students in that group? This is where translanguaging came in. Our teachers have been doing study groups with the translanguaging guide, really looking at the strategies that really need to be put in place in order for them to successfully implement this 50-50 model. We really, in the past, like Rennie was saying, our curriculum was really designed for the monolingual general education classes. So the bilingual teachers rarely had an opportunity to sit and look at the units and look at the resources and really adapt them to themselves. It was really just take it and do what you can with it. That's been a huge, huge change. We knew as an administrative team that if we were going to raise these expectations or set these expectations for our bilingual teachers, we really had to provide them with the professional development in translanguaging and in the model, and also with the time to sit with their collaborative peers and plan these units out. So that's another leg of this inquiry that's been ongoing. Our scheduling has sort of had to change so that we can allow for double periods of planning time during school for these teachers to sit and work on this.
Good morning, everybody. I wanted to give you some of my minutes. So I have a disclaimer before I present, and that is that when I was invited to present about this, I immediately say no, you can't talk about this. You know, it's so Liza Papas, who is the CUNY, she really pretty much persuaded me to present with this idea in mind. So I just wanted, the disclaimer is, this is what I'm sharing is it's the life of the school. It's work in progress. It's not exemplary, brilliant, anything. I'm just sharing our process with all of you, and hopefully, you know, because this is hopefully the point of being part of this group, that we collaborate, learn from each other, ask each other questions, and reflect. And of course I'm distracted because I'm in this amazing room and I keep looking up and I see the Empire State Building over there, and it's just like, wow, I can't believe I'm in New York City. I'm from Bogota, Colombia. And I know, oh wow, you know, that's like, brings me back. I've been here 10 years, but I can't believe I live in New York City. And I'm the principal of a school of newly arrived immigrant students. In the year 2000, I attended a meeting that was led by the Deputy Superintendent of Queens High Schools. His name is Alan Dichter. He now lives in Portland, Oregon. And he had this, he asked the principals to nominate people who could be emerging leaders. So emerging bilingual leaders. So, and I was invited, and I went, and this man was different than anybody I ever met before in the DOE. He was a person who talked really only about instruction. He didn't talk about compliance and this and that, you know, averages, all that. He talked about instruction, and it was unbelievable. And one of the things that I really learned from him was like to really always take the pulse of the school, the instruction that takes place in the classroom, and look at these issues of cause, effect, and impact. What are the causes? You need to be alert about what's causing this. Do needs assessment. What is the effect? What measurements have you taken to address that? whether it's structural, strategic, and then you always have to go back to measure the impact to see what's, and it's cyclical. And he would say is this issue of looking at the what, and then so what, and then now what. So those 3 steps. And so, you know, I learned that, I tried to apply, it's hard when you're an AP. And I became principal in 2008. And and I was thinking, okay, so we need to, inquiry was done in the school as the DOE wants us to do inquiry, let's do inquiry. Everybody has to do inquiry, let's do inquiry. And it was like really not done well. It was, in the department conference they have like 2 minutes, let's do inquiry. It's like, what's this? It's not authentic, organic, you know, let's be honest, let's just tell people we're not doing inquiry. Let's figure this out. And one of the things, the first thing was we were going to get a curriculum audit, because we were at that time in corrective action. And so I used that. I said, listen guys, we have to get ready for this. So the first thing was negotiating with the union. It was a structural thing. It's like, we need to split circular 6. We need to teach you cannot do inquiry every other week or once a month. It's like therapy. You have to do it every week. So we have to break circular 6. And it passed. It was tough, but we negotiated it passed. And then the problem was that the union wanted to have inquiry teams by department. And I was like, no, we can't do this. Because one of the issues that we have in the school is that people are not talking across departments. And they're not really they don't know what the kid goes to learn in other areas. So we're just going to have to frame this as to, but of course it was just like, and I like talking to the network leader and trying to ascertain how to do it, and then we decided that we're going to do it in terms of the tiering of vocabulary. So we all read Margarita Calderon's book and blah, 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 and then we're going to look at academic vocabulary and at content-specific vocabulary. We're going to look at these things. And we're also going to look at skills in the modalities, and 4 modalities, reading, writing, listening, speaking, and see where are the areas of focus. But since we were looking at the inquiry process, and okay, so we need to, let's target our student population. What? Do we low stir, all of that stuff? No, let's target everybody, all our kids. What we need to see is, you know, some of the ESL teachers were insisting, no, we need to see, you know, so we don't want to create a diagnostics, we're not people who are experts on assessments and all of that, so we need to use, okay, so I agree with them, let's use the acuity test and the periodic assessment. So we look at how our kids were doing, and then obviously, so we started with something like identify details that support the main idea, because the students tended to do poorly in that area. So that was our first focus. And we do it intuitively. We just look at the only kids who take acuity were kids who were in level 4, 5, 6 of ESL. So it wasn't really telling us the new kids if they were having trouble with that. Then that was year 1. And it was, you know, kicking and screaming and doing all of these things. And then I'm really afraid at the end of the year, because guess what? You have to do another SBO to split circular 6 for the next year. And then I'm really, you know, campaigning, trying to, and ultimately trying to really make this a tool for teachers to improve teaching and learning, to see the purposefulness of the incubator. This is telling you something that is going to help you differentiate the lesson. This is something that you really are going to see trends and patterns. So let's pick, let's select, so you know, you have to, and it passed again with less votes than the previous year. But then by the second year, I think that it was more established. They resisted. One of the groups that resisted the most was the physical education.